今天是演讲者的时候，我说 On behalf of my professor, I'll show you the result of our experiment. 你有没有注意到，当我讲 on behalf of， 当我用 on behalf of 的时候，前面我有没有加主词？没有加主词。但是当我用 represent 的时候，我可以说 Today I represent my professor to show you the result of our experiment. 有没有主词？有。所以如果我们回到刚刚那一题，制作人代表未出席的导演颁奖的时候，这个时候我如果用 represent。主词一定要出现，你主词一定要出现。The producer represented the absent director. OK， 如果你用 on behalf of， 你没有办法加在 the producer 后面哦。你不能讲 the producer on behalf of the absent director to accept the Oscar。错，知道哪里错了吗 ？On behalf of， 你前面不能有主词，因为它不是一个动词。它是只能在你一个完整的句子讲完之后 ，on behalf of somebody， 因为 on behalf of somebody 它是一整个东西，你可以移动的，移到最前面，移到最后面的那一种 ，OK。但是 represent 它就是一个主要的动词，它前面一定要有一个主词 ，OK。So let's move on to our switch on discussion. Remember the topic of this lesson? We're going to talk about the artificial intelligence. We're going to talk about robots, right? Okay, so before we talk about the details of the robots, I would like to have the interaction with you. Okay, so right now is the same, the speaker time. So if you want to share your personal experience with me, let me know. Okay. The first question I would like you to share with me is, can you name any movie that the topic is tightly related to robots? Robot topic movies. Can anyone name the movie's name for me? Yeah. Terminator 3. And what about the Terminator 1? Terminator 2? 我知道你在给别人一些机会，对不对？好。Terminator 1, 2, 3这样子，然后好，来，还有吗 ？Toys，what kind of toys？ 玩具总动员叫做 Toy Story，Toy Story，OK。那巴斯光年叫做巴斯光哪什么？巴斯光年哪里这个句子 ？Buzz Lightyear， 哦，你要知道一下哦。好 ，Buzz Lightyear， 你是，哎，你刚刚讲话吗？啊，还没来，所以你就直接给他了。iRobot in Chinese is AI 什么东西？不是吧 ？iRobot 我们中文叫什么？哪一部电影？哦，是William Smith 那一个吗？全民公敌，机械公敌，机械公敌。OK，iRobot 再来。Transformer。刚刚你是讲 Transformer 还是啊 Terminator？ 好。Transformer 一样有3集，对不对？要开始 1, 2, 3吗？来，再一次 Robot Cop，OK， 好，中文叫什么啊？机器战警，好，来，还有吗 ？R2D2， wow， you're in my same generation, you know 。再一次 ，I'm Man， 那个叫什么？中文叫什么？忽然间忘记了。I know that movie。钢铁人 Iron Man，OK。华丽，然后就直接讲哇，对对对，他就直接念 Wally，That's right，Wally。还有吗？来。Okay, artificial intelligence AI. That's right. Okay, this is one of my favorite robot movie. 来，好来。What? Pacific Rim. I love that. 这个叫做环太平洋。好，还有什么 ？Real Steel. 好，这个叫钢铁擂台，对不对？好。Okay. So we have already talked about so much robot movies, right? And one more question. Have you ever think of the underlying reasoning the underlying reasoning to move all of these robots. They are all heroes, right? Robotic heroes. But how can they save our lives? How can they be heroes? What kind of the components that are embedded inside their body? There must be some machines, right, inside their body, but what kind of the components that are necessary to push them move? What kind of the components? Yeah.
Justice.
Justice, what is that?
正义感。
正义感就是哇 ，very profound concept. Justice 好，所以有些人讲的是他内心的，对不对？好，我们撇除 mentally， 我们撇除心智上的，我们讲的是他的真实性。我们讲机器人，它里面它到底应该有什么样的东西？机械性啊。Electricity, that's right. So that is one kind of the power source, right? Okay, so we get the power source. What else? Artificial intelligence. So you mean the programming or the algorithm that programmed inside the computer, right? 或许我们有algorithm， 我刚刚讲那个东西就讲什么，类似一些程式码或者是一些 code， 对不对？好 ，inside that computer, inside the body, and what else? Battery. Okay, so we have the battery to make a robot move. That's right. Excellent. And what else? 再一次。Mother. What is that?
The main IC. The main IC.
Oh,
The main
so
integrated circuit of the robot.
you mean the processor?
Yeah, the main unit of the
Okay, so just like the CPU of a computer, and or the brain of a person, human being, right? Okay, excellent. I think that is the most essential thing inside the robot's body to make it function, to make it move, right? What else? We should have the skin or something else. Motor, what is that? 马达叫 motor, okay, motor. 你知道啊？你们常常会用那种中文式的那英文，然后来讲。我跟你们提一下，虽然不是说在取笑我的学生，但是真的有点好笑，跟你们分享一下。我之前啊，就是大一的时候啊，大一我都会让他们练习口说。然后呢，我有一次要他们讲说是跟营养有关的东西，他们喜欢吃什么。然后他们就会开始跟我讲说，有些人喜欢吃麦当劳，他们就讲麦当劳，对，哪来的麦当劳？怎么念？它是念 McDonald's， 好，后面是一撇 s 哦，哈 ，McDonald's 它是一个姓，好吗？是一个姓，没有麦当劳这样子的音，是 McDonald's。好，再来还有什么？哦，维他命 C， 等我一下吧，哈，维他命 C， 维他命 C 你怎么念？很多人哦，口试当下给我维他命 C， 哇，念得非常的字正腔圆，维他命 C 这样子跟我讲。答案是 vitamin C， 因为 vitamin 是 bio 没有 v 这个音，是 vitamin。好，这个题外话了哈。Okay, go back to the robot. So we have some of the components. We have the power source. We have the battery, electricity, and also the processor. 我们讲处理器，还有吗？
Sensor.
再一次。
Sensor.
Sensor, excellent. So it should have a sensory system, right? Okay, sensory system. What about outside of the robot's body? Metal. Okay, the metal. Okay, comprises the robot's body. And one question: do you think a robot should have a arm and a leg? Are arms and legs necessary for machines? Are arms and legs necessary for robots? Not really, right? Not really. Maybe they can only have an arm, then he can just pick up some of the pencils or also some of the dedicated tools. Then it can help humans, right? Okay, so what about the legs? Here I want to use the PowerPoint to show you there are some of the components that are necessary for a robot. Okay, so for example, the first one, superficially, it has a movable structure that includes its arm, that includes its legs, but actually legs is not the only way for them to move. They can have wheels, or they can use the caterpillar tracks. 如果是那种履带的话，其实他们也可以前进嘛，对不对 ？Okay, so here are some of the wool structure. And the second component that I think very, very important is that is just mentioned by you. Second one is a power source. Power source, it includes lots of the categories, lots of the types of power source that include battery, you just gave it to me, and also the second one is the biological fuel. Have you ever thought of this one? The nowadays developing of the, I think it's biotechnology, we're going to use the corn to purify or to extract some of the elements from corn and to convert it into some type of the energy. And we can reuse that kind of the energy, right, to replace of our traditional oil or gas, right? Okay, maybe we can save our environment. So that is the second kind of the power source, biological fuel. And the third one is the compressed air. You need to know this. 我们讲气压 compressed air could also be one of the power source to make the robot, to push the robot to be activated. And what about the third one? We have the motor. The motor. So actually, these two types, the power source and the motor, they are tightly related to each other. Because if the battery is the power source inside a machine, that means the machine is a electric system machine. Okay, so they are directly related. Battery power source, and we have the electric motor system. And what about the biological fuel? If the biological fuel is a power source, then what kind of motor we have? We're going to have the biological machine. Okay, biological system, biological motor, biological machine or system. What about the last one? Look at the third one, power source. That is the compressed air, right? Anything, any power source that is related to compressed air, those motors are pneumatic. 这个字你要认得，它就是叫气压的。所以如果今天我们的 power source 它是跟空气压缩有关的，这样子的一个机器，我们都叫做 a pneumatic machine。好，应该机械系的人应该对这个东西可能有一点印象吧，在你们课本里面 pneumatic。Okay, so we finish up the first three components inside a robot. What about the fourth one? 第四个，来，你们都有提到，非常非常的厉害。来 ，the fourth one is a sensory system. So what is a sensory system? You can imagine how we people, human beings, sense out this world. How we sense this world? We use our sight, hearing, smell, touch, and also taste, right? To sense this world, to feel this world. And what about the robots? It can also sense this world by the following things. For example, the first one. If the robot has a heat sensor, what it can do? How can it help human beings if a robot has a heat sensor? Okay, so here comes some of the ideas for you. If a robot has a heat sensor, maybe it is not a robot, it's only a machine. And you put that machine in your house, and whenever there is a abnormal temperature rising, then the machine can sense the difference of temperature, and it can set off alarm. 对，警报器会大响 set off an alarm and warn you to run for your life. Okay, so this is one of the usage of the robot with the sensory system of heat sensor. Or even more advanced way to use that is that, for example, you know, the firefighters, actually this kind of work is very, very dangerous, right? Okay, such a dangerous work actually can be saved by the robots. If the robots with the heat sensor can run into the burning house instead of the real person, then we can save lots of people's life, right? Because the robots can just save people out, put the people in the burning house on their back and just run out of the house. We don't need firefighters to do that kind of the dangerous things, right? But on the other way, maybe some of the firefighters will lose their job in the future, right? So it has pros and cons. 有好处有坏处嘛，哈。Okay, so this is the first thinking. And what about the second one? A sensor which measures the pressure. What does it mean? A sensor which measures the pressure. Think about it. If a robot has this kind of a sensor, what it can do? It can do what? 它可以做什么？ If the robot has this kind of a sensor, it can pick up heavy things or it can pick up delicate things. And also just imagine if the robonaut, when they are working outside the outer space, they can help the astronaut to maybe to clean up the work site or to run inside and outside of the spacecraft to do some trivial things for the astronaut because they can pick up the bag or hold something inside out. OK， 他们可以帮忙拖一些东西啦，整理一些东西啦。啊，因为他们对于 pressure 压力这个东西有 sensor system， 所以他们可以拿轻的东西，也可以拿重的东西。我们通常在拿东西的时候，是不是其实我们心里面都知道大约要花多少力气，对吗？哦，所以这样子的 sensor system 其实也可以应用在 robot 上面。再来第三个，你可以想到是什么？ What kind of the third way? Third kind of sensor system is the weight distribution and balance. If a robot can sense the information on weight distribution and balance, what do you think it can do? It can run? Actually, I think it can climb the mountain, climb the wall, or climb the stairs. Right? Because when we are walking, when we are climbing the stairs, we have to keep ourselves balanced, right? And of course, when we are climbing the mountains, the wall, 90 degrees walls, there are some of the weight distribution. We need to use our muscles, right? And to keep ourselves balanced, to do that kind of all of those difficult motions, okay, movements. So the robots can use to climb the stairs, and also they need to think about it. If the robots can run, they can run. Maybe in a game, they can be our gamekeepers. In a volleyball game, in a soccer game, or in any kind of a game, they can play with us, right? Because they can run, they can touch, they can sense the pressure, right? All kinds of multitasking robots. What about the last one? A sensor that can detect chemical smells. 最后一个例子给你 If a robot has this kind of a sensory system, what can it do? Detect chemical smells. If the robot can detect chemical smells, it can maybe dispose the explosives, right? 它可以去做拆弹的动作，你知道吗 ？Dispose of explosives. It can smell the chemical smells. It can sense the different atmospheres, okay? And also maybe they can help the police to track down the premeditated criminals. 如果今天我们有一个那个叫什么预谋犯罪，有没有？哦 ，premeditated criminals. We can just solve this kind of criminal beforehand. Okay, so this is just some of the applications of the robots with all kinds of the sensory systems. Okay, so this is the fourth component that a robot should have. And the last one is just like 照刚刚讲的 a processor. Processor 我们刚刚讲的是我们讲中央处理器，对不对？好，所以就像是我们刚刚讲的the CPU in the computer or the brain in a human being, we should have our central system to produce, to analyze and to accept all of the information from the sensory system. Okay. 好，所以最后一个 processor， 像我们讲的 CPU， 其实就是我们讲说是central processing unit， 是 unit 对不对 ？OK， 中央处理器是这个意思。OK，so we finished talking about all of this。这个东西我不是随便给你的，来，如果你们刚刚你们有把那个 short reading 印下来的话，我还记得一开始我有交给你一个作业，对不对？回去看，刚刚我已经把内容已经很完整的，然后 main idea keyword 全部都给你们了。你们回去看你们的 short reading， 你会觉得非常的好读， 然后里面你就可以 focus 在一些你比较不知道的单词啦，然后或是一些比较你不懂的细节。OK， 好，那下一次我会看到你，我要看到你旁边的一些注解哦。好，接下来是你的时间，我要你做的是discussion。You just finished the first one, right? You gave me lots of the robots' names, the movies' names. What about the second one? I would like you to work in small groups. What could robots be used for? I would like to help you to discuss this topic through some of the pictures that I found for you. 我帮你找了很多的图片 and I would like you to discuss through these topics. But first of all, let's group them into groups. Okay? 把你们分组吧。大概3个人一组好了，5个人太多，你讲不到什么话，3个人刚刚好，3个人刚好，来，大家都不认识，对不对？随便，你找个就认识了，就像我们也不认识一样啊，对不对？你们只认识我一起，我们再认识一下其他人 ，make new friends。找3个4个可以，没关系，3到4个。你想想看，我现在应该是你们唯一在这个礼拜当中有可能可以讲到英文的时间嘛，对不对？好，今天讲。